Hello, hello, and
Hello.
here we are in
Mhm.
another moment in time. And in this moment, I'm really excited to talk about Space Six Studios with Thomas. So thank you, Thomas, for being here today.
You're quite welcome.
So I want to just share kind of even how this moment, came about because I feel like when we really start to fine tune each moment, we start to create incredible outcomes. And
Hmm.
so like for us even meeting, it's like I go to the pool, you go to the pool,
Hmm.
all of a sudden there was this moment in time where we were seeing the future, of
Hmm.
humanity and what is
Yes, yes.
possible.
Yes.
And so that's kind of where I want to lead into, your background and
Hmm.
kind of how even this came about of, what it is that you're, supporting to help us all in these next moments.
Well, it came about through my work in the Caribbean region. Well, I won't say just the Caribbean, coastal communities, and my background in architecture. Uh, it just got to a point that when I used to do work in that region, uh, you'd see a whole different level of attentiveness or lack thereof um, in these regions, particularly when it comes to sustainability, being able to move forward with day-to-day life, all, all of the things that we come to take for granted a lot. So I began to look in my own community, Ward 4, Washington, D.C., and decided, let me apply the same things here that I'm applying there so that I can see a different reality when it comes to what happens when it comes to hurricanes, when it comes to earthquakes, when it comes to just basic sustainability, really. And so that really was kind of the impetus. It started out with a community garden proposal that I started to take a look at, which has become one of our studio focus. The term for Studio Six is I had six different real estate development proposals, uh, um, and at various stages and well, not had, but we have. And so uh, I just I wanted to give them each an identity, so I named it Studio Six. So that way, when we're dealing with the Huntersville, North Carolina site, or we're dealing with the site on Georgia Avenue, we can begin to give them their own identities. That is not to cookie cut anything, but just to be able to provide that basis for sustainability so people can survive uh, without significant reliance on forces outside of control of their own community. And once you say that, then it gets to, okay, where are you mentally? Where are you on a conscious basis? Are you I mean, we have this proliferation of phones these days, right? And so everybody's distracted, and I often wonder, like, okay, if we suddenly have a major natural disaster, how well would we do in terms of evacuation? And okay, so let's say we evacuate and we get out safely, and let's say it's a natural disaster that lasts maybe a month or more. How do you survive? How do you get to a point of getting healthy food, enough food, for that matter, clean water, and all of these things? And all of these things are usually at the top of the list of what we worry about when we say emergencies and all of that. But what is lost, I think, is the kind of human part of it. And so we get a flood and we go and then we end up rebuilding in the same area and then we get a flood. So it's kind of doesn't make sense. So it's a mindset. So then when I got to think, okay, it's a mindset. So we need to change people's mind about what it is we're trying to do. And essentially that is one, develop sustainable urban villages and enclaves. And then two, create a series of pop-up events in community specific areas, particularly in coastal regions. I've initially focused on coastal regions because that's the front line of a lot of climate change impact, not to mention just natural disasters, which by the way is getting far worse than they used to, and in number and in intensity. But so, okay, now I love water, travel up and down the coastal regions around the world. And then you and I meet, we're having this conversation. And the conversation that I first had with you, and I'd like to say this so folks will know, was it went from just, hey, how you doing, to some very high level consciousness conversation about who we are. And then you were telling me about your challenges, health challenges. I was sharing with you a little bit about my own. And I think that was just a connecting point by overcoming those challenges, knowing that yours were just as intense and as mine, or probably more so. But it, it this it's that really, yes, it gets back to the mindset. It gets back to, what are we thinking? Can we get off the phone long enough to say, hey, I shouldn't be on the phone making calls to everybody saying, hey, you guys are all right, when people are trying to get to me and we're trying to survive, and we should be working as a community, and we should be collectively doing things to make sure that we're sustainable. And it's hard to compete with phones. It's hard to compete with the technology, not just phone, but technology, because people want to see and it's new and everybody's so enamored by it. And that's why companies make you stand in line at the newest edition for the latest phone. I think we all realize that they have that technology already. They just kind of rationing it out for financial gain mostly. But it does get to, at some point, changing your mindset, the consciousness of the people in these communities, particularly with climate change and emergency preparedness. We're getting the data that's already out there, thanks to technology, is it's a lot of good data, but it never seems to get down to like a lot of the underserved, underdeveloped communities. And so that's kind of where we kind of want to get in there and say, hey, this particular entity, Space Six, is for mainly to facilitate the research, advanced research, training, design, planning, and real estate development for sustainable technologies, which includes a whole dish of things. But when I say sustainable, I'm not talking about the things that, like when you go in Giant, I tell a quick story. You go in Giant, and maybe after 5 minutes, I heard on a PA system, sustainable this, sustainable that. Oh, go to aisle this and sustainable that. And so it's kind of, it's lost its meaning, I guess. It's kind of marginalized, but it's real because you only have to go 1 or 2 days of a news cycle to see the effects of disasters, earthquakes, climate change events. And that's what you can see. But from a technical side, because I have architectural construction background, I dug a little deeper and say like, hey, maybe there's some solutions here. and then basically just start looking at my surroundings in terms of, okay, how are we building our communities? How are we, we're asking people to, if there's the emergency, let's go up this route because it's the designated evacuation route. But they don't tell you where you're evacuating to. And then when you get to wherever that is that you don't know about, are you going to have the necessity that you need, particularly for early childhood and seniors? Um, so it just gets back to, again, the mindset and our conversation about the whole level of consciousness and what you're doing and how you get there. I have my own stories. We haven't had a chance to get into it, but and it's not for here, but at another time. But it really did come down to a mindset for me. I mean, I was they even, unbeknownst to me, said, "Hey, they had to bring you back your heart stock, whatever." Uh, but it was just a mindset that I'm not. That's not where my destiny ends. And apparently I was in agreement with, the universe and God or whatever you perceive the high authority to be. Uh, and then I was able to get through that really successful. And it left a mark on me to want to establish something to go beyond the standard. Okay, let's build this, let's do that. And then all along the way, we're going to make some money, and we all, and nobody's anti making money for sure. But I just thought that, yes, it's not really the things that keep happening to us, it's our inability to react to, particularly when things happen, to get the lesson from that, to take that to another level of content. And the university requires that. The universe requires that of us. And a lot of times we fall short of that. We're distracted over here, and we're worried about that, and so I know I took the scenic route to the answer to your question, but you can
You
edit some
know,
of
there
it.
is no scenic route. It just is, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the more that we can, become present with what it
Mm-hmm.
is that we're experiencing in this
Mm-hmm.
moment. Like
Mm-hmm.
there really is no wrong way. Like the
Mm-hmm.
only way that it's wrong is our perception of it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
of like thinking that it needs to look this way or it needs to look like that way. So that was like
Mm-hmm.
the perfect example of even what you just discussed, right? About
Mm-hmm.
like changing our mindset and really being able to look at what we're being presented with
Mm-hmm.
a new lens, like,
Yes, yes,
hey, how can we restructure in a way that supports us all? Because we
yes.
came here, like all of us came here to thrive.
Yep,
So
yep.
if all of us aren't thriving right now, then that means that there's an imbalance, and the imbalance is that we haven't felt that we're worthy, to
Mm-hmm.
really
Mm-hmm.
be like abundant and be like, what would it look like with a world that everyone loves each other and everyone is so excited to
Mm-hmm.
co-create and
Mm-hmm.
and it's like
Yeah.
instead, we constantly are thinking about worst case scenarios or
Yes.
just
Yes.
whatever is being presented instead of saying like, okay, if I'm here for a bigger purpose,
Mm-hmm.
whatever I'm experiencing in this moment, the universe is providing me a
Mm-hmm.
solution, in some
Yes.
way, like I'm co-creating this. And the
Yes.
more that I acknowledge that and allow that to be, what I'm seeing in my own reality is that like now all of a sudden life is easy.
Yeah.
I'm a magnet now. Now I'm
Yeah.
co-creating with the universe. I'm
Mm-hmm.
creating solutions.
Mm-hmm.
So if we think about 8 billion people,
Wow.
thinking about solutions of the world, thinking about
Yes.
ways that we can co-create together and really, look beyond, what we're being presented. Because yes,
Mm-hmm.
there's things that we haven't known about before. And yes, like a lot of things haven't been healthy for us, because we
Mm-hmm.
didn't know, and
Right.
so
Right.
when we like say, hey, we didn't know, But now we're becoming aware. And so what does that mean? That means that we take full responsibility of what it is that we're creating. So that means our
Mm-hmm.
thoughts, our
Mm-hmm.
intentions, and our
Mm-hmm.
actions. And when we can start to really control those thoughts, intentions, and actions that align with more love, that
Mm-hmm.
align with more compassion, that
Mm-hmm.
align with this co creation,
Mm-hmm.
we will start to connect and create that in our world, and so that's where we're talking about these solutions that are
Yes.
available, now.
And that is a perfect description of why I think the synergy between what you're doing and what we're doing is so wonderful, because that's what it's all about. You really, um, I mean, all the way from the crime to just basic courtesies or whatever. We just need a new, right back to the whole new mindset. The universe, if we spend more time thinking about the universe, that we're part of a far bigger, far bigger deal than our own dot in the cosmos somewhere. Um, and things are in order, and things happen, and there's chaos, and there's peace, and so I think a lot of times we get into budget, money, political stuff, and all of these things, which just can't solve some of these problems. You have to go consciously. And I've been to both ends of the spectrum, trust me. uh, and I'm thankful that I'm at this end of the spectrum, trying to do what we're trying to get together. What is essentially taking what this carving a piece out of what you just said, taking that and having pop-up events in communities. I decided to start out with coastal communities and adjacent communities, and along with other things, whether it's music therapy, aromatherapy, massage therapy, uh, what they call CAM. So what is it called? Alternative medicines, complementary alternative medicine. Sorry. So, and that's really what it's about. And I see all of what we've been talking about, the whole different conscious level, kind of under that health and wellness, um, in community access. Because listen, what I agree with what you just said. Okay, but how does everybody else get that message if we don't reach out? Again, it gets back to you loving each other. I'm going to reach out and tell you this and share this with you, because not because I have to or you paying me something, because I the love in me is trying to, you know, give. So it's amazing being at this level of consciousness and thinking about it. And I think back just probably maybe 5 years ago, 7 years ago, and a totally different place. So I hear things now that I heard then and before. I just totally different understanding. And God, thank God, I can connect the dots. And I just sit back sometimes and say, wow, oh, that's why oh, okay. And like you said, I'm a little bit more, I'm one of those a little bit more, okay, I'd like to, I mean, that's probably the architect in me. Yeah, I like to design a little bit for my own destiny here. And so out of that, the universe allows that. Yeah. You want to be great? Can you think about it? Can you make it happen in here? And so, yeah, yeah.
I love it. And we get little pieces of it, like when we see movie stars or people that have, made it, like, we see bits and pieces of it. But what I'm learning is that when we have trauma or we have some kind of emotion or that we're identifying with,
Mm-hmm.
like then it like becomes a part of us. And until we start really breaking that down and really like being real with, how I'm feeling right now, or
Mm-hmm.
what I'm being shown right now, and really like, that vulnerability with self,
Mm-hmm.
like takes a level of, just patience and
Yes.
gratitude that, yes, many may never, acquire.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm learning more and more is that when we, each of us can
Mm-hmm.
do our best, whatever that is,
Right.
and we can be
Right.
that best self in this moment,
Mm-hmm.
we do more
Yes.
good, in
Yes.
the world by doing that. And
Yes.
even we give others that opportunity by
Mm-hmm.
being that, light of just like,
Yes.
hey, yeah, this is what we're experiencing right now, but there's more, there's
Yes.
more to this. And so the more that like we keep practicing, right, there's more and more things
Mm-hmm.
that are going to be showing up that are going to invite others to start to look at this opportunity, to start to look at this way of thinking, because it's like we also have, we're in this solar maximum 25, which
Mm-hmm.
is, there's a lot of light and plasma energy like coming into our magnetic field.
Yes.
And before it
Yes.
was blocked, and so now that is coming into our bodies. And so
Mm-hmm.
our DNA is upgrading it. We're becoming, what it is that we're here to be in the world. And so there's going to be more of these, activations coming online for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So, now, like you said, like in the 5 years ago, it was like this little, planting of this.
Mm-hmm.
But now it just seems like it's like so much bigger, because we're witnessing the weather go from like this to this, and it's
Yes.
like, hold on, like if
Yes.
this is happening, like, what is
Yes.
happening within us? Well, Earth is already, ascending to her,
Yes.
like she's decided, and so
Mm-hmm.
basically we are now deciding,
Mm-hmm.
so really it's like our vibration, our frequency, our
Mm-hmm.
alignment with our body is the most important thing moving forward. So, the more that we start
Yes.
to see this and kind of witness our bodies like kind of respond to these things, people
Yes.
are going to be more open. That's
Mm-hmm.
just what happens as humans, right? We just
Yes.
all of a sudden are like, okay, this thing happened, and now I'm ready to hear,
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
other opportunity.
And which leads right into the whole reason of the development of the pop-up events, so that you can get that out. You can. It's not just something you having to sit on your sofa and click a button on to try to, and if you can put together the right documentaries, you can really string these things together, as opposed to having you sitting in front of somebody and saying what you said, which would take a lot less, and then a lot of, so that's the whole idea with kind of amping up the whole pop-ups. I'm aware that what they use the whole pop-ups for these days, that's okay. That's what we do. And it's a good idea. I mean, from an architecture standpoint, if it's done right. And so what I said is, okay, well, we can do that, but we can also do that for things that, not just non-emergency times, but in emergency times, climate change, as the universe change, and like you said, the plasma, the energy, the frequency, all of that. We tend to forget that. We tend to forget what energy really is, right? And we think it's impacting one of those bottles, energy drinks or whatever. But the frequencies and all of these things affect how you are, how your wellness, and all of that. And these are the kinds of things I'm just trying to say. Well, if we having pop-ups, let's just include that. And oh, by the way, why don't we actually design public spaces, indoor, outdoor spaces, to be dual use, so that when there's no emergency, there's no climate change event, we have nice community, inclusive, organized. Now you get places where, oh yeah, we're going to build housing, we're going to build housing. Then they say, oh, we need some restaurants, and then it's like, you know what? We need something, because people, after a while, you come and you eat Okay, so now what? We come and we eat. So now, so you know, I think it's a wonderful way of getting healthy communities, environmentally friendly communities, and I think that can extend to our us as people, environmentally friendly thinking, right, and healthy thinking. And for me, and I'm sure for you, the water and swimming has been a part of that um, because of the sereneness of it all. And I swimming since I was about 12. And I'll be 65. Just so so it's been a while, and it's the one thing that has kept me. Um, you don't realize the mental benefits until you stop doing it. And I had gotten away for a while from the meditation, and so it's things like that that I think is critical that we kind of we got to teach each other. We've got to reach out. We've got to be there. Or else we've got to realize, wait a minute, if they say the universe is 13 billion, whatever it is, you know, there had to be civilizations that has come and gone, right? And so you like to think like, okay, well, maybe we can be one of those that's, still around and can benefit from things. But we can't do it the way we're going now because we're so distracted with technology. We don't even give enough time to ourselves. Like if, I see, if you stand in bus stop or restaurant or whatever, or you're driving somewhere that's peaceful, nice day, that could be time where you could, refuel, and you could establish some of those subconscious things that, but we don't. We're distracted, and then when we need to draw upon those, we don't have the facilities to kind of conjure. A lot of people don't have the facilities to kind of conjure them up so that it's to the benefit of themselves and the community, which is we just got to do better on the whole community thing, really. Um, and we don't talk enough about mindsets. We talk about mental health. We talk about drug addiction. We talk about crime. We talk about everything. And we talk about what programs we can get, and a lot of them are not dealing with that. I mean, there are some that are set up to deal with mental health kind of things, but which, by the way, I look at that as your mental health. If your thinking is not where it need to be, there's some consequences. Um, so yeah,
I love
I,
it. Well, this has been incredible. I feel like this is the perfect place to, stop and just allow each of us
yeah,
to check in with,
yes,
our
yes, yes,
mindset
yes,
and
yes,
feel into
absolutely,
this. This has been
absolutely,
amazing. So
yes,
thank you,
yeah.
Thomas, for sharing, what it is that you're creating and continuing to be for the future. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate. I want to say I sincerely appreciate the invitation to participate.